I just finished editing 2 brand new videos, but those videos can wait because we need to talk about this. Just for me, na 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 na, just for me, JUSTFORME. If you're of a certain age, I know that jingle just brought back a whole lot of memories. So earlier this week, AshLeon, I think she was the tweeter that tweeted the tweet. I think that's who it was. But she tweeted a tweet calling for all the old school relaxer box girls to show us where they are now. By the way, fun fact, speaking of relaxer girls, if you are old enough to remember original Destiny's Child, Latavia Roberson, one of the first 4, was actually the girl that rapped the jingle I just sang. But anyway, it really did take all of us way back to a much different time in the hair landscape. It's like even with fashion, there's always an evolution and then a revolution of styles coming back and coming and going, and hair's been no exception. It's hard to believe that you look around now and you see natural heads of hair everywhere. Well, I was born in the late 80s, raised in the 90s. When I turned my head everywhere on the street, everybody had a relaxer. It was a much different time. And that was almost like a rite of passage for a lot of girls, and also an ushering in of some good and bad memories. But when it comes to representation in the beauty space, the relaxer boxes and the commercials for PCJ and Just For Me and all the other perms that we got as little girls, that was one place I knew that I was going to be able to see a pretty little brown girl that looked like me. So fast forward to now, it's a different time, right? I remember, let's see, I think I was probably about 5 years old that I got my first perm. But be that as it may, just like a lot of girls go and they look to the internet and the Instagram and the TikTok to get their beauty references, we had, once again, sophisticated black hair. We had the boxes that we saw, the big hair magazines that would be in the beauty shop, and those were the women and the girls that a lot of us wanted to look like. But the controversy that has come up this week is that half of the girls we saw on the boxes for these relaxers didn't have a relaxer and never had a relaxer. Mind blown, right? And so it's crazy. It created an entire generation of girls who had to big chop to get the hair that they were trying to get from getting their hair relaxed. And for a lot of us, with some collateral damage. We got people walking around with like damaged hair follicles. I know for me, I think I got out pretty much unscathed, considering the time, the length of time, and how young I was when I got my first relaxer. But man, one of the reasons I went natural is because I had never seen my real hair texture. I was too little to remember what it looked like before. And sadly, who knows if I'll ever really know what my hair would have been without it. And I say this to say there's absolutely nothing wrong with having a relaxer. If that's what you choose to do and that's best for you, that's the beauty of having so many options. But it's one thing to dupe adults who can kind of make, their own decisions and really look into things. But it's another thing to rope in young girls and impress certain aspects of culture, for good and for bad, on them and on their parents. I mean, my mom gave me my first relaxer not necessarily because she thought something was wrong with my hair, but for it to be more manageable. And then there's another segment of my friends, for example, my contemporaries, that got to a certain age and felt like, man, I want a relaxer to, I guess, be more mature, or I want a relaxer because I want to look like the girls I see on the box, right? Or some of them did get the messaging that my hair is too nappy, my hair is bad, my hair is this, that, and the other, and their first relaxers are attached to their experiences with texturism. And I also want to point out that it perpetuated the idea or the myth that black girls with natural hair could not grow a full head of natural hair, which is obviously not true, because these girls that we saw in the boxes did not have relaxers and they had beautiful, full, often long natural hair. We just didn't know it. So for them to be pursuing this particular appearance based on what you saw and what you were told a product would do for you, only to find out that the models that you were seeing just had a really good press. They didn't tell us that, don't scratch your hair. The little girls on the box did not tell us that it was gonna burn like Hades when they were rapping about Just For Me. They didn't tell us, oh yeah, it'll be permanent for the hair that's already grown out, but you're gonna have to do this again in a couple of months. So many things that people didn't know when we were like little, until we found out and were ushered into the relaxer era. But it's just kind of crazy how just those small things, or seemingly small things, or little white lies, the irony of that, little white lies or lyes, take that the way you want to, really shaped an entire culture, both reflected it and shaped where we now, the attitudes we have now, and have really impacted the long-term hair journey of so many people, especially in my generation. Yeah. I just wanted to stop and mention that and talk about it, and I want to get y'all's thoughts down in the comments below, because I want people to know, especially young people, when it comes to advertising, believe only half of what you see and none of what you hear. But also, we gotta continue to hold these companies' feet to the fire and call them to the carpet for lying about important stuff like that, but also to not take so many of our cues for what we should look like, for what's acceptable, and what we want for our own aesthetic from what we see in the media. It's okay to get ideas. It's okay to look at an editorial or advertisement and be like, yeah, I really, really like that. But we also have to understand what that person actually had to do to get there, We have to take into account how much nipping, how much tucking, how much alteration, how much Photoshop and other wizardry goes into what we see. So never get down on yourself because you don't look like what's there. Don't get frustrated if you get a product and it don't look like what you saw, because chances are it didn't look like what you saw when they shot it. So that's just my rant for today. Like, my mind is completely blown by this new tea that has been dropped. Tell me what y'all think in the comments below, and I'll be back super shortly for another video.